I just remember that moment like ripping me apart in the best way possible because I was like, I needed to hear this because for so long I'm thinking like, oh, it's my strategy. Oh, this person's making more money than me. Oh, this thing, imposter syndrome, ego, like all those things. And like, I wasn't even realizing the simplest, most amazing things that have happened to me in such a short amount of time. Welcome back to another episode of Break Out of the Matrix, Boom, the podcast. Today's episode is going to be all about gratitude, life changes, how I've evolved and expanded. And when I was really thinking about what I wanted this episode to be about, was honestly just an open and honest transparent conversation around gratitude because what happened was a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was like a week ago, I made this post that went viral and I haven't had a post get that much engagement, like a static Instagram post ever. And it hit the Discover page. I actually grew a significant amount of followers, like almost 1,000 followers, maybe a little bit less than that. But it was just like, wow, because I was so honest and so vulnerable, and it was about a conversation that I had with my boyfriend. So if you haven't seen it, I'm going to really expand on it here. And then I also want to talk about how I've evolved, how I've changed since starting my brand, and what manifestation really has done for me in my life, and really like the honest truth around where I'm currently at in my journey, in my life, and in my business. So the post that went viral was actually all about gratitude. And that's one of the key things that I want to talk about today is because gratitude is the foundation of all fulfillment. Gratitude is the foundation of speeding up your manifestations, feeling happy, feeling joyous. And it may sound so cliche. And I remember when I was younger, my mom would always say to me, Julia, think of 3 things you're grateful for before you fall asleep. And now gratitude is a part of my morning routine, like just really feeling all the feelings of feeling and being grateful. And gratitude has changed my life. So what happened was my boyfriend and I were swimming in my rooftop pool, and summer's coming to an end here, but I cannot wait for the fall. To be honest, fall is my favorite season. I'm a Libra, so my birthday's during the fall. I love it. But anyways, we were swimming in my rooftop pool, and it was right before the Manifest Your Dream Life launch, which, oh my God, I can't even believe how well that it's going already. By the time you're listening to this podcast, the doors will be closed. You guys can join the waitlist in the description or in the show notes. But I just was feeling stuck. And I know stuck is like a very blanket phrase, and I don't really use that word a lot, but I just said to him, and I was like, I'm feeling so stuck lately. And we were swimming in my rooftop pool in New York City, and he just said to me, and he was like, Julia, can I be honest with you? And I was like, of course, like always be honest with me. And he was like, don't get upset, because I knew that he didn't want to hurt my feelings, but I knew when he said that it was something that I absolutely needed to hear. And I just listened with an open mind and open heart. And he was like, you're lacking gratitude. He's like, look where we are, look what we have, and look what we've done. And I just remember that moment like ripping me apart in the best way possible because I was like, I needed to hear this because for so long I'm thinking like, oh, it's my strategy. Oh, this person's making more money than me. Oh, this thing, imposter syndrome, ego, like all those things. And like, I wasn't even realizing the simplest, most amazing things that have happened to me in such a short amount of time. And I thought about this recently as well because one time we were just like laying in bed and we were cuddling and he was being like so sweet and so loving. And my boyfriend's definitely more of like the romantic one and the more affectionate one. And I've definitely grown into that, and I'm so grateful for him for that. But I just remember like that moment like a couple months ago. I don't even know if I ever told him, but I just remember that moment and I was like, wow, this moment is what I dreamed of for so long. Like this moment is what I used to visualize about, what I used to pray for, what I used to hope and wish for when I would lay in my bed single just at night and like so ready to call someone in. And when we had that moment in the pool and he was like, you're lacking gratitude, I was like, almost brought me back to that moment as well. And I didn't share about that on my social media, but it brought me back to that moment of like, wow, like I'm in New York City. I'm in a rooftop pool. Like I'm in living my dream life that was on my vision board. And I'm here being like, I'm stuck. And it's like, I always say to my clients and my students and even friends and family, it's like as you grow, you're going to have new problems and usually bigger and better problems. So it's like, yeah, my problem wasn't that I was 25K in debt. My quote problem was that my multiple six-figure business was not even struggling, but more of like at a plateau. And it's like I was still earning and I still am earning amazing money and feeling fulfilled and so grateful and can afford anything I want and all those things. But it's like I also was like, oh, I'm stuck. And it's like sometimes you just need to give your life this bird's eye view. And now I realize how that wasn't right. And that wasn't right or fair of me to say to myself. And it wasn't about hurting anyone else's feelings. And I know I got some backlash on that thread. They're like, oh, but you're so privileged. Like you're in your New York City pool. And I was like, well, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm saying here is that how could I lack gratitude when I have so much abundance right in front of me? And another thing that almost made me feel a little bit triggered and go into that a little bit deeper is like, why am I so triggered by random people on the internet telling me that I'm privileged? Because I was in a place where I was 25,000 in debt and I could have and I was thinking about this morning over breakfast and I was like, I could have went down a really, really deep hole with that. I could have stayed at my job. I could have overspent. I could have moved to New York City in the middle of the pandemic because the rates were low, not paid off that debt first. Like I could have done so many different things. But I chose to actually be abundant and actually make decisions with an abundance mindset and make decisions for the long term and not for short term instant gratification. And this also made me realize that no matter what you're doing, someone's going to have something to say. So, there were a lot of times, more so like in high school, more so in college, where I always felt like, what am I doing wrong? Like, why doesn't this person like me? Why did this relationship fail, right? And we usually think that it's something with us, right? Well, the truth is you can only meet people as far as they've met themselves. So for somebody maybe who doesn't know me and that post popped up on their Discover page, let's say, it could say like, I'm privileged because I was saying that, oh, my business isn't earning 100K months yet. But what about somebody that's been following me for years that also sends me a DM and says, Julia, like you've changed my life. I listened to your podcast once and I'm already attracting in financial abundance, other forms of abundance into my life. So it's like if I let that one comment bring me down, I would be doing a disservice to all the people that need me. And when you think of business, right? So it's like, and I try not to go into the strategy too much because I understand energy and energetics and mindset and spirituality, especially when growing a business. But, when you're, for example, like putting on a free event or you're doing something to the masses, like let's say I post a social media content and my video goes viral, I get 2 million views, right? And I get 2 clients from one video. Well, what about if I said, oh my God, there are millions of people who decided not to become my client? And that would be doing a disservice to the 2 people I actually reached and impacted. So I want you to think about that when you're thinking about the masses. And I listened to this, maybe like podcast or video once, and it was like, if you want to really grow and expand your business, and that's the level that I'm at in my business, is like, I'm growing and expanding and I'm scaling, but I still want to do it with like integrity, with ease. And now, like I said, my problems are different than when I was 25K in debt and I was single and I wanted to be in a relationship and I was trying to quit my 9 to 5. So it's like becoming self-aware of where you're really at in life and understanding that each phase is going to come with a new layer. So it's like these quote problems that I have now are not the problems I would have had 2 years ago. And these are definitely bigger and better problems. Growth is a process. And it is a journey and not a destination. And this is something that I wish I knew a lot sooner, is that we're not here to reach some perfection or some outcome. I used to be a perfectionist, and now I really realize is perfectionism is such an excuse to not put your work forward, to not put yourself out there, to not make changes because you're trying to achieve something that doesn't exist. That's, a goal of yours. You're like, oh, I want it to be perfect, and then I'll put the sales page out there. I remember I welcomed in my first student for Manifest Your Dream Life this fall round before I had any sales page, anything, before I had even come up with content. And I was just like, yeah, like this is my vibe. This is what I do. And here's who I am. Like, do you want to do life together? And she said yes. And that was a multiple 4-figure sale, paid in full. I didn't have the course content. I didn't have the sales page. I didn't have anybody else in the group yet. She was the first one. Where are you maybe lacking gratitude in your life? Because after that conversation with my boyfriend, I was listening to a ton of podcasts and just watching videos and stuff and talking to people, and like so many things about gratitude kept coming up. And I was like, this is such a sign. This is such a sign that I need to be a little bit more mindful and maybe pay attention to this. And it's like, I knew if my boyfriend told me something like that, he's the kind of person that would always only say things in my best interest. Now, he's not perfect, right? But when he said something that deep and on that level, I knew that he was telling me something that I needed to hear. So ever since that moment, I've really been so appreciative of the little things. So it's like, I found in my old email, some other email that I never use, I had a $4 payout for when I was selling clothes on Tradesy. That was like back in probably like 2014. And I remember being like, oh my God, this is so annoying. They keep emailing me that I have this $4 payout. And I'm like, who the hell cares? It's $4. And then I realized, and I was like, oh my God, I keep pushing away this $4 because I'm like, oh, it's nothing. Like, who cares? It's just $4. And I kept pushing it away and they kept emailing me. And I'm like, why the hell do they keep emailing me? It's just $4. And then I opened my eyes and I was like, this is a moment the universe, God wants me to feel grateful, wants me to feel massively abundant and grateful for this $4. And oh my God, that just like broke down so many limiting beliefs I had. And it's like, if you're going to treat $4 like that, how do you expect to treat $4 million, right? So then I went in that Tradesy account and I transferred it to my PayPal, my little $4 balance. And I was so grateful for it. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I unexpectedly, a couple days ago, got a sale on my Poshmark page. And I was like, wow, like unexpected money, like, going back to that phase of when it was just like joyous and fun. And I was just manifesting money more so because I was like, okay, life is a game. Right now in business, it's all about numbers and data and feedback and, that like masculine energy. So like that helped me come back a little bit to like the feminine, the playfulness, the fun, like this $4 balance of something that I sold in 2014, like, oh my God. So that was really, really cool experience. And, I wanted to make this podcast long, but now I'm thinking I want this to be more of like a mini-sode, like a mini episode. And I'm really enjoying podcasting and this specific episode specifically because it's all about, right, gratitude. And this message of gratitude is like gratitude unlocks and opens so many doors for you. And it's like, if you can't be grateful in this present moment, like how can you be asking for something greater? So it's like, for example, right? How could I be so like annoyed I was with that $4, that email that kept coming in for $4? And when that's the way that I was treating money. So it's like, you can't manifest massive abundance into your life if you're treating money in any form, right? And that always comes back to like, how are you treating people? How are you treating situations in your life? And it's like, I'm not perfect. I'm not expecting you to be perfect, but think about the way that you are handling situations in your life and the way that you're treating, everything in your life, because that's the way that it's being reflected back to you. So if you took anything away from this podcast, let it be this. Gratitude is the foundation of all fulfillment. Like gratitude will change your life. Finding moments just to be grateful for, and not just like, of course, writing in your journal and feeling the feelings is so important, but I want you to bring this into every single thing you do. When you sit down, thank the food that you're eating, that it's going to nourish you. And it may sound silly or it may feel silly, but this is how you live a life with gratitude and integrity and abundance, is being grateful for every single moment, whether it be big or small. So I hope you guys enjoyed this mini-sode, is that what you call them? I don't know. If you feel called to, please share this with somebody. I'm also going to share a ton of free resources in the description, in the show notes. So like I said, please share this with somebody. Share this with somebody that you know needs to hear this about gratitude, or you just want somebody to feel good. You want somebody to start getting in the motions of gratitude. And I'm going to close this podcast with that. I feel so entirely grateful for you coming back each week and listening. Podcasting has been so fulfilling. I'm going to start having guests. We're going to just grow and expand and evolve together. And I'm so grateful that we are on this journey together. I love you so much. Thank you so much for the ratings, for the DMs. If you haven't yet, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. I've been loving your DMs, your comments on my posts, leaving feedback with the podcast. So thank you guys so much. Keep sending them because they keep motivating me to keep creating more for you. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next episode.